evening. On behalf of the commissioners and staff, I would like to welcome you all to the August 24, 2023 City of Roseville Planning Commission meeting. Please put all electronic devices on silent at this time. Agendas are available at the end of the staff table. If you plan to speak at tonight's meeting, please complete a blue speaker card and return it to the staff table. As a reminder, Planning Commission meetings are broadcast live and replayed throughout the week on Consolidated Communications and Comcast. I will now call the meeting to order. Lupe, may I have a roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Brashears. Commissioner Hagen-Jost.
Here.
Commissioner Jensen.
Here.
Commissioner Martin.
Here.
Commissioner Randolph.
Here.
Vice Chair Pryor.
Here.
And Chair Covington.
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please have staff introductions.
Yes, good evening, Chair Covington and Commissioners. Loopy Nelson, Recording Secretary.
Good evening, Commissioners. Joe Speaker, Assistant City Attorney.
Good evening, Chair Covington and Commissioners. Greg Bitter, Planning Manager.
Good evening, Chair Covington and Commissioners. Derek Ogden, Senior Planner.
Good evening, Chair Covington and Commissioners. Scarlett Marr, Associate Planner.
And good evening, Commissioners. Matt Todd, Principal Engineer.
Thank you. The public comment period is a time for anyone who would like to address the Commission on any item not on tonight's agenda. When addressing the Commission, please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to address the Commission on an item that is not on tonight's agenda? Hearing none, I will close the public comment period. The consent calendar consists of routine items that may be approved under one motion as recommended in the staff reports. However, each item may be considered separately upon a request by the audience, Planning Commission, or staff. Tonight's consent calendar consists of 2 items. Item 5.1, minutes from the July 27th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting, and item 5.2, North Industrial Plan Area Parcel 55, placer detailing, 10612 Industrial Avenue, for the record, file number PL 23-0123. Is there anyone on the Commission or in the audience who would like to pull an item off the consent calendar for separate discussion? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as listed?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Commissioner or Vice Chair Pryor has made the motion and Commissioner Martin has seconded the motion. Roll call, please.
Yes, Commissioner Hagen-Jost.
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen.
Yes.
Commissioner Martin.
Yes.
Commissioner Randolph.
Yes.
Commissioner Brashears.
Yes.
Vice Chair Pryor.
Yes.
And Chair Covington.
Yes. The motion is approved. There's a 10-day appeal period for item 5.2. Next on the agenda is requests and presentations. Before we begin, I will review the meeting procedures. We will hear the staff presentation, then I will take questions from the Commission. Then we will open public hearing and the applicant will make a presentation. Then I will open the public comment and the public will have an opportunity to speak. Then I will close public comment, and if needed, the applicant will be given an opportunity to provide a rebuttal. Then I will close the public hearing. The Commission may ask questions of staff, and finally, the Commission will consider this item and make a decision based on the information provided in the report from staff and the testimony presented during tonight's hearing. Item 6.1 is a request to approve the conditional use permit and design review permit modification for 111 South Harding Boulevard, for the record, file number PL 23-0055. Scarlett, may we please have your presentation?
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. The first item for your consideration this evening is the Starbucks drive-through project. So So the project site is located within the Douglas-Harding Corridor Specific Plan on parcel DH47, and the site is bordered by South Harding Boulevard to the north, existing commercial parcels to the east and west, and residentially zoned parcels to the south. The site is approximately 1.5 acres in size and has a land use designation of community commercial and a zoning designation of general commercial with a special area overlay. For some background information, in 1998, the Planning Commission approved a request for a design review permit to allow the demolition of an existing Burger King that was constructed in 1979. As well as with the reconstruction, they included a new indoor play area for the Burger King. Today, the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to allow a quick service restaurant with a drive-through adjacent to residentially zoned properties and a design review permit modification to allow the demolition of the existing Burger King indoor play area and other site improvements. So in addition to the Burger King indoor play area being removed, the applicant does propose minor modifications to the site plan to accommodate the new dual drive-through lane as well as accommodate new landscaping along the northern property line and the removal of several angled parking stalls along the east building elevation. Consistent with the community design guidelines, the new dual drive-through lane will exceed the minimum requirement of 180-foot stacking distance. And as proposed, the drive-through lanes will provide approximately 340 feet of stacking. The new site configuration will yield a total of 53 parking stalls, exceeding the minimum requirement of 31 stalls. Ingress and egress onto South Harding Boulevard will occur along the north and east property lines, while the existing third driveway along the north property line will continue to stay as is, but only allow egress onto South Harding Boulevard and will have signs to prohibit any folks entering the site from that the driveway. So in addition to removing the indoor play area, the applicant is proposing to make some changes to the building facade. They are proposing to introduce a new color palette as well as introducing some new building material to be consistent with other Starbucks in the area. The new color palette includes a light gray trim and a light beige color on the building, and fiber cement panels are included as accents on the building pop-outs and will be dark in brown color. The proposed rendering on the screen is how they're proposing the front elevation of the Starbucks. So per the zoning ordinance, a drive-through adjacent to residential uses does require a conditional use permit. The CUP process allows the Planning Commission to restrict any activity uses as well as place operational conditions on the project to mitigate any potential impacts to the surrounding properties. Now, consistent with the City of Roseville general plan, the proposed use is consistent with the zoning ordinance as well as the general plan. As part of the review process, a short-term traffic and queuing study was completed for the project. A summary of that of the study is included in your staff report. In short, the study found that the dual drive-through capacity during peak times will not have an effect on or off-site operations. And according to the study, should the vehicle queuing exceed the capacity during peak hours, it is anticipated that a maximum of 4 cars could potentially stack outside the drive-through lanes, but will remain on the property at all times. And based on the project location as well as surrounding uses, the predominant noise sources in the area does come from Interstate 80 as well as other nearby roadways. And given the existing roadway noise and the fact that the site has operated as a quick service restaurant for the past 40 years, staff did not feel that the noise study was necessary for the project. Additionally, the applicant is proposing to relocate the menu and speaker board on the east side of the building elevation, farthest away from the residential to the south of the property. Early notification of the project was posted on the Roseville Coalition of Neighborhoods Association's website. In addition, the applicant did do some early notification and mailed project notifications to properties within 300 feet of the project site. As a result of those notices, staff did receive 2 inquiries from existing commercial tenants nearby, and they were just interested in knowing more about the project and requested a site plan. As a result of that, no additional comments were received. The public hearing notice was published in the Press Tribune, mailed to property owners once again within 300 feet of the project site, and posted on the Arcona website. We didn't receive any comments as a result of those public notices. And pursuant to the CEQA, the project does meet the 5 criteria to qualify for CEQA exemption 15332, which exempts infill development projects in the area, and no further analysis is required as well. So in conclusion, staff finds that the project is consistent with the zoning ordinance, the general plan, as well as the Douglas Harding Corridor specific plan and the community design guidelines. The site is properly designed and will not be detrimental to the public health and safety or the public welfare, and the required findings of fact can be made for the project. Therefore, based on this information presented to you this evening and in the staff report, staff recommends the Planning Commission take the actions as listed on the screen. This concludes my presentation, but I am available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Scarlett. Commissioners, any questions for staff at this time? I will now open the public hearing. I would like to invite the project representative for this item to address the commission.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Noelia Santiago, and this is my colleague, Aaron Gutierrez. We're here for Starbucks that's going into 111 South Harding Boulevard. Sorry about that. And we are in agreement with the conditions of approval, and we are looking forward to this. The scope of work is extensive, but it's in keeping with the Starbucks brand, and we also believe with the City of Roseville code. And I'm not sure if you have any questions for us.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for the representative?
I have a question. Good evening. Could I ask, is this Starbucks going to be in any way connected with the one that's in Roseville Square across the road? Will that be closed down, or are they both going to operate?
It will be relocated to.
It will be relocated?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that one is closing down, the one in Roseville Square? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
I will now open the public comment period. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward and address the commission about this item? Hearing none, we'll close the public comment period. Any last questions or comments for the applicant from the commission? Okay, I will close the public hearing. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the 3 findings of fact and approve the conditional use permit subject to the 4 conditions of approval, and adopt the 2 findings of fact and approval of the design review permit modification subject to the, 63 conditions of approval. For the record, this is on file PL 23-0055.
A second.
Commissioner Randolph has made the motion and Vice Chair Pryor has seconded the motion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Pryor?
Yes.
Commissioner Randolph?
Yes.
Commissioner Brashears?
Yes.
Commissioner Hagen-Joes?
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen? Yes. And Chair Covington?
Yes, the motion is approved. There is a 10-day appeal period for this item. Item 6.2 is a request to consider the 5th addendum to the Hewlett-Packard Campus Oaks Master Plan EIR and recommend that the City Council approve the 12th addendum to the Sierra Vista Specific Plan EIR, General Plan Amendment, Specific Plan Amendment for Sierra Vista Specific Plan, rezone Major Project Permit Stage 1 modification for a Master Plan Amendment to the HP Campus Oaks Master Plan, 3rd Amendment to the SVSP Westbrook Development Agreement, 6th Amendment to the SVSP West Park Federico DA, and 10th Amendment to the Hewlett-Packard Master Plan. For the record, file number PL 23-0064. Kinney, may we please have your presentation?
Yes, good evening, Chair Covington and Commissioners. My name is Kinney Shallow, Associate Planner. The project site consists of 5 vacant parcels in 2 areas of the city. One parcel is located on parcel CO52 of the HP Campus Oaks Master Plan and is about 17.5 acres. It has a zoning designation of industrial business park with a special area overlay and a land use designation of tech park, business, professional, and light industrial. The master plan anticipated this parcel to be developed with a 150,000 square foot employment center. The 4 other project parcels are located in the western portion of the Sierra Vista specific plan and consist of parcels WB30, WB32, WB52, and FD34. With the exception of WB52, these parcels are zoned multifamily or R3 and have land use designation of high-density residential. Parcel WB52 has a zoning and land use designation of parks and recreation, and this 1.5 acre park parcel was intended to be dedicated to the city, but on August 16th of this year, the City Council adopted a resolution which declared its intent to abandon the irrevocable offer of dedication of the parcel and have it remain with the private landowner. The City Council will take final action on the abandonment at the September 20th City Council meeting. The project will add 285 market rate HDR units in the HPCO master plan area and 266 affordable HDR units in the Sierra Vista area. No development is being proposed with this project, but it will facilitate future development of the parcels. The project requires the entitlements listed on this slide, which require final action by City Council. The project would rezone CO52 to R3 and change the land use to HDR. The proposed changes will require a master plan amendment for a major project permit stage 1 modification to amend the HPCO master plan consistent with the project changes. Parcel CO52 will have a unit allocation of 285 units, resulting in a density of 16.1 units per acre consistent with the HDR land use. And also consistent with the general plan, the site is in close proximity to services such as the Campus Oaks Town Center to the northwest, which has a mix of retail, restaurants, and commercial uses. The increase in residential units would contribute additional funding for public services and for fire and police services through community facilities districts, which would provide a public benefit. This table summarizes the proposed unit allocations and affordable housing obligations. Sierra Vista parcels WB30, WB32, and FD34 are already designated as 100% affordable, but the project will add units on these parcels pursuant to state density bonus law and will change ratios of the very low and low income units. Also, WB30 will be age restricted for senior citizens. The 285 units proposed on parcel CO52 trigger an affordable housing obligation to designate 143 of those units as low-income units, but this obligation will be transferred to WB30 and 32. The net changes will result in an increase of 551 units with an additional 10 very low-income and 256 low-income units, which helps the city and fulfill its share of the regional housing needs allocation and increase the city's housing supply. As mentioned, parcel WB52 was intended for a city park, but the city park staff determined the site is challenging because of its small size and limited public access, since it's surrounded by 2 HDR parcels with open space to the north. A general plan amendment, specific plan amendment, and rezone are requested to change the land use and zoning of the parcel to HDR and R3. No housing units will be allocated because the owner will develop it with on-site amenities for the benefit of adjacent residents. Consistent with the general plan, the applicant will pay in lieu fees in the amount of the fair market value of the property to offset the loss of public parkland, which will go towards the improvement of other parks in the area. The project requires amendments to 3 development agreements, which include the Westbrook DA, West Park Federico DA, and the HP Master Plan DA. Each DA will be amended to reflect the land use changes, revise affordable housing obligations, and reflect the density bonuses. The Westbrook DA will also include a neighborhood park in lieu fee for the redesignation of the park to HDR. The in lieu fee will be required upon issuance of each residential building permit within parcel WB31, which is a market rate parcel, to not burden the affordable parcels. Early notification of the project was posted on the Arcona website, and signs were posted on the project site. Notice of tonight's hearing was published in the Press Tribune, distributed to a 300-foot radius, and posted on the Arcona website, and no public comments have been received. An addendum to the HP Campus Oaks Master Plan EIR was prepared for changes to parcel CO52, and an addendum to the Sierra Vista Specific Plan EIR was prepared for changes to the rest of the project parcels. The addenda were combined into one CEQA document, which includes a cumulative considerations analysis looking at the combined effects of the project, such as impacts to traffic and utilities. The project would result in an increase in trip generation, but this would be offset from the decrease in vehicle miles traveled, or VMT, largely due to the age-restricted uses on parcel WB30, which have a lower average trip rate and trip length compared to a typical multifamily use. In terms of utilities, the land use change for parcel CO52 will result in a decrease in electric demand and an increase in water and sewer demands, but the increases will not cause a significant impact to the city's facilities. And overall, the project will not result in any new significant environmental impacts. In conclusion, staff finds the project is consistent with the zoning ordinance, Sierra Vista specific plan, HP Co master plan, and general plan, and the required findings for approval can be made. Staff recommends the Planning Commission take the actions listed on this slide, recommending City Council approve the project entitlements. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Kinney. Commissioners, any questions for staff at this time? Okay, I will open the public hearing. I would like to invite the project representative for this item to address the commission.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, Marcus LaDuca, 3300 Douglas Boulevard here in Roseville. On behalf of Scott and Jonathan Cannell and the Cannell Companies, I'm pleased to be before you tonight with the recommendation for approval from your staff for several multifamily projects, has just been outlined by Kinney in 2 planned areas of the city. These projects will help the city meet its affordable housing goals in general, and also its regional housing needs allocation and its housing element in particular. Before I begin, I did want to express the property owner and the project team's deep appreciation to your staff for all their work, especially Kinney Shallow, and getting us to this point. As you can tell from the stack of paper in front of you, it was a yeoman's effort to be able to bring this set of entitlements to you. So we really want to thank them, and it was included everyone from engineering department, housing, and parks department to get us to this point. I'm not going to go over individual parcels that are set forth in the application. I think the staff presentation and staff report have done a very outstanding job of summarizing all the various aspects of the application. I did want to talk about some general affordable housing issues that go to how we got here tonight with this applicant for these parcels. As you know, housing in general and affordable housing in particular have been leading issues of discussion in California for many years. In looking to address the chronic housing shortfall we have in California, the legislature and executive branch have at times placed burdens on local communities to solve challenges and difficulties in delivering affordable housing, when in fact some of their own policies and regulations have actually made that burden even heavier to try to meet. Starting in the mid-1980s, Roseville has been a regional leader and even a statewide leader in comprehensively planning in its specific plans for a range of housing types to meet housing needs of a number of people in the community in terms of different household sizes, different household incomes, and be able to do that in a comprehensive manner. In fact, in the decade of the 1990s, Roseville led the region in production of affordable housing. Not a lot of people know that in the decade of the 90s, 1 out of every 4 affordable units in the 6-county area, that's 6 counties and 22 cities, was built here in Roseville. Again, very aggressive management by both the housing staff and your planning staff to make that happen. When the Great Recession hit in 2008, between 2008 and 2010, obviously there wasn't a lot of housing production of any kind happening in the state. And then in 2011, the state came and took away redevelopment agencies and tax increment financing, which was really the only significant financing tool that local government had in California to be able to help get affordable housing built. In the last decade, Roseville has been very creative in helping the private marketplace deliver some affordable housing projects, including some that are very nearby here down Washington Boulevard. But again, it's done so trying to piece together everything it can, including that's infrastructure, well-planned infrastructure in the city, as well as timely processing of entitlements and a full-service city that delivers the services it tells builders it can deliver. But we still need the private marketplace to be able to step up, because to do so now is to do so without any financing help from the city relative to tax increment financing that was used by Roseville's redevelopment agency to get a lot of projects off the ground. Up to this table has stepped Scott and Jonathan Cannell, who have a completely vertically integrated company. As a completely vertically integrated builder, they're able to deliver projects that are cost-effective, at the same time very high quality. They're award-winning. You can see from their Campus Oaks apartments that they built right adjacent to CO 52, really outstanding project that's been built here in Roseville. And they're able to do that in almost every single case without any tax-exempt bond financing or tax credits. They do that through private financing and their ability to manage all the companies that are in their group of companies that constitute all the subs that build a project. What the result is on the 5 parcels before you, you're going to have 2 low-income multifamily projects totaling 547 units that are affordable to low-income households. You're going to have a single project affordable to very low-income households of 256 units. And then on the Campus Oaks 52 parcel, that'll be at 285 market rate units. Again, using the density bonus law in the state that hasn't been used much here in Roseville, they're able to deliver an additional, as the staff report and Kenny mentioned in her presentation, 256 additional low-income units here in Roseville and 10 very low-income units. So we really see this as a win-win situation, but not just for the property owner and for the city, but also for those households who have incomes that the private marketplace has not been able to provide affordable housing for, given the costs that builders face in terms of trying to build any type of housing, let alone affordable housing. And that includes the cost of federal and state permits and approvals that the city has no control over. These projects, as Kenny set forth in her staff report in the presentation, come to you without any environmental effects greater than those that have been studied comprehensively in both the Sierra Vista Specific Plan and Campus Oaks Master Plan secret documents. You may be wondering about timing. The Cannells don't allow grass to grow under their feet. They look to begin the first of these projects next year. And so they'll proceed one by one, sometimes 2 at a time, as those projects come forward, to be able to bring this to fruition at the same time, getting families who may work in Roseville but have to commute from elsewhere to be able to live in this community as well. With that, we would ask for your positive recommendation tonight to the City Council for our requested entitlements as they've been presented. Our project team is here to answer any questions you may have. General Counsel for the Canal Companies, Bill McGuinn, is here, along with Greg Bardini from Morton and Patallo Engineers, who is our project team leader, and Casey Shurrock from Ramey Moose Manley, who's our CEQA attorney on the documents before you. Be happy to answer your questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for the project representative or team? No. Okay. You may be seated. Thank you. I will now open the public comment period. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward and address the commission on this item? Hearing none, I will now close the public comment period. Any additional questions or comments for the applicant or staff from the commission?
I just want to echo what Mr. LaDuca said. I want to say thank you, Kenny, as well as the rest of the staff that was involved in this. The report was very, it's a complicated transaction. It was very straightforward, very understandable, and I thank you for that.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Just a quick one. I appreciate Scott's effort to bring housing to Roseville. When Campus Oaks came forward, very rarely do we see the affordable units come in advance of the housing that's there. And not only did that happen, but it happened in a very, very positive way. And I'm going to look to Marcus, but I bet with his investments with this, he's close to $1 billion investments overall in Roseville. And so that's very much appreciated in helping us achieve what we need to do. So I'm very grateful for that. And I just wanted to publicly state that so that Scott could hear that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anything else? Okay. I will now close the public hearing. Would anyone like to make a motion? It's going to be a long one.
I'll make a motion.
We're going to say, if you want to simplify it, if you want to, there was that final slide that had the
Okay, all the items on it?
Yeah, and so if we wanted to pull that up and you guys wanted to make the motion to approve as listed on the screen, I'd save you some time. Yeah.
So my motion will be on the slide that's forthcoming on the screen. There it is right there. All of these, I believe there's 8 bullet points. That's my motion.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Martin has made the motion and Commissioner Jensen has seconded the motion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Randolph,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Hagen-Jost,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pryor, Commissioner Jensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Brashears,
Yes.
and Chair Covington.
Yes. The motion is approved. Item 6.3 is an appeal of the July 14th, 2023 approval by the planning manager of a minor design review permit for 200 Vernon Street. For the record, file number PL22-0382. Before beginning the staff presentation, I would like to go over procedures for this item. I will open the public hearing, staff will provide the commission with a presentation, and the commissioner will have time to ask questions. Then the applicant will have the opportunity to provide comments, and the commission will have time to ask questions. I will then give the appellant the opportunity to provide comments, and the commission will have time to ask questions. Then I will open the public comment period for any members of the public who would like to provide comments. After the public comment period is complete, I will close public comment, and if public comment is offered from the public, then the appellant will be given the opportunity to provide a rebuttal. Then the applicant will be given the opportunity to provide rebuttal comments concerning any of the testimony. I will then close the public hearing, and the commission will consider the testimony and take action on the appeal. I will now open the public hearing for this item. Shelby, may we please have your presentation?
Yes, you may. Good evening, Chair Covington and Commissioners. My name is Shelby Maples. I'm Associate Planner, and I have a presentation for you on the 200 Vernon Mixed-Use Project and Appeal. The project is located on Vernon Street within the downtown specific plan area and is bordered by Vernon, Lincoln, and Atlantic Streets. The project will redevelop the Consolidated Communications Building and also includes a small adjacent parcel with an existing parking lot. As it is located within the downtown specific plan, the project qualified for a process called the Minor Design Review Permit, and this was a staff-level review that was approved administratively on July 14th, 2023. The project is before the Planning Commission this evening due to the appeal of the planning manager's decision on the project. An appeal of that July 14th decision was submitted by Lizzo Drury on behalf of Laborers International Union, Local 185, on July 19th, and the Planning Commission will take action on both the appeal and the MDRP entitlement tonight. The requested minor design review permit is to evaluate the proposed project, which is a mixed-use development, including 12 residential units, offices, and retail space, as well as a restaurant. The project also includes exterior facade improvements, and those are proposed as part of the request. This is the floor plan for the proposed project, with the first floor on the left side and the second floor on the right. The restaurant space is shown in pink, with retail in green and offices in orange, and the residential units are shown in the blue color. As all of the requested units are permitted by right within the downtown specific plan, and the project complies with all applicable development standards. That's shown in Table 2 of your staff report. The project will also utilize the existing 13-space parking lot that's on the adjacent parcel to support the request. No additional parking standards may be imposed on the project due to the site's proximity to the Amtrak station. However, there is ample street parking and city garages that are nearby that can support the project as well. These renderings show the proposed modifications to the exterior of the building. The project proposes the removal of the existing tile finish and will replace it with a new tile siding. New metal panel cladding pop-out elements are at the restaurant and residential entrances that accentuate the major building entries and break up the longer stretches of the facade. The design also includes metal panels, which will cover the existing concrete panels. The project will also modify the existing walls to add windows and storefront systems with the intent to brighten the interior space. And as requested, the proposed uses, design, and exterior upgrades are consistent with the downtown specific plan and design guidelines. The minor design review permit noticing requirement is different from the typical design review permit, and it requires an on-site posting of the notice for a 10-day period, which was completed in January. The staff report was prepared, and this was approved on behalf of the planning manager on July 14th. As part of the staff report, staff found that the project was exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act under two sections, 15182 and 15334. And as discussed in the staff report in this presentation, the project is mixed use. It's consistent with the downtown specific plan and remodels an existing building. The project meets the criteria listed for both exemption classes. An appeal of the project was submitted by Lazo Drury on July 19th. This appeal document is included as attachment 2 of the staff report. Lazo Drury states that there's a significant air quality impact due to the presence of formaldehyde from composite wood products that they state was not known at the time of the 2009 EIR was certified, and that this information necessitates a supplemental environmental analysis. The appeal states that the proposed exemption classes were inappropriate due to this new impact. However, no evidence was submitted to support this statement with the appeal. The staff report includes a detailed response from staff in the appeal evaluation section. Contrary to the appellant's statement, formaldehyde was a known potential toxic air contaminant at the time the EIR was prepared, and that is addressed in the 2009 EIR. No additional mitigation measures specific to formaldehyde were required, as it was determined in the EIR that these toxic air contaminants would be addressed through existing regulation. While Lazo Drury states that new information has come to light since the publication of the EIR, it's noted that the regulations specifically pertaining to formaldehyde in composite wood products were implemented in 2007 by the California Air Resources Board. These regulations included timing triggers for implementation of increasingly strict standards. The EPA also modeled the national regulations on the California standard, and the California Building Code was updated to reflect the appropriate thresholds as required by law. It's also noted that these standards, including standards for ventilation, have become more stringent over time. The project will rely on the latest building code for construction. No evidence has been submitted by the appellant to support the claim of a potentially significant impact, and the project will comply with building code and other applicable regulations. Therefore, staff maintains that the project is exempt from CEQA pursuant to the relevant sections. I do want to elaborate on those exemption classes a little bit more. The first exemption class is for mixed-use or residential projects pursuant to a specific plan. The first criteria for this exemption class states that a project must be within a specific plan area for which an EIR has been prepared, and the project must fall within the scope of the EIR. As we've discussed, it's located in the downtown specific plan. It's subject to that 2009 EIR, and all of the uses and development standards conform to the specific plan. Secondly, none of the conditions in section 15162 have occurred, and staff evaluated the section, found that there is no substantial change required to the EIR for the project, since the project's consistent. The project will reuse the existing building, and there are no new circumstances surrounding the project that have significantly changed since the EIR was published. Despite the appellant's claims, there is no evidence of new information that could not have reasonably been known at the time of the EIR adoption, and there are no new mitigation measures which would apply to the project. The second exemption class is for infill development projects. This exemption class has 5 criteria which the project meets. The project's consistent with all applicable policy documents. It's located within city limits. It's on 0.7 acres and is located in an area that's already fully developed and without habitat value. There's no evidence of new traffic, noise, air quality, or water quality impacts that will occur with the proposed project. And the project was routed to all relevant city departments and can be served by utilities and public services. Finally, it's also noted that none of the exceptions to exempting projects apply. This project does not request exemption through specific classics 3, 4, 5, 6, or 11. It falls within the scope of the EIR, and it does not exceed cumulatively considered impacts. All uses are principally permitted, and there are no unusual circumstances surrounding the project. Additionally, it will not impact a historic resource. It's not located on a hazardous waste site, and it is not adjacent to a scenic highway. Therefore, based on this analysis and the analysis in the staff report, both exemption classes can be met. In conclusion, the project is consistent with the specific plan, general plan, and the required findings for the minor design review permit can be made. Therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission deny the appeal and approve the project, find the 2 findings of fact, and approve the minor design review permit subject to 76 conditions of approval. Thank you. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Shelby. Any questions for staff at this time from the commission? Okay. I would like to invite the project representative for this item to address the commission.
Hello, Commissioners. Matt Marks, Tower Investments. Shelby, great job on the presentation. I'm not going to add much to it. It's fairly straightforward. We're going to use the ground floor for new retail along Vernon. We're going to put new apartments on the second floor, and then we'll finish it off with a rooftop bar. We purchased the building about 1.5 years ago. We've been working with Comstock Johnson's team and Clark Sullivan. We immediately got a demo permit, and we demoed most of the infrastructure, and we spent the last year designing what you saw up on the screen with the apartments. We'll lay out the first floor, and as we find tenants, we'll obviously lease that out, and we'll come back for tenant improvement permits. Right now, we have submitted to the building department for MEP. We're hoping to get in and out of there in 3 or 4 months, and you might see construction start. But if you walked in the building right now, we've taken everything out of it. There's sprinklers, but all of the material is gone, mechanical's gone, most of the electrical is still there. So it still has great bones, but we're going to bring back everything new. So,
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any questions for the project representative at this time? Thank you. You may be seated.
thank you.
I would like to invite the appellant for this item to address the commission. Seeing that the appellant isn't here, I think we can move forward to the public comment period. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward and address the commission? Okay. I will now close the public comment period.
So from a matter of procedure, normally there would be an opportunity for rebuttal from the project applicant, but since the appellant didn't appear, it doesn't seem that there would be any need for the rebuttal. So that procedural step wouldn't be necessary in this case.
Okay. Okay, then. Commissioners, are there any final questions for the project representative or staff at this time?
I have just one question for staff, if that's possible. I see that there isn't much parking for residents, but there is use of the public parking garage that the city has. Is that parking garage 24 hours, and can it be used by residents for parking?
Yeah, the 2 city parking garages in downtown are open 24 hours, and there's no restrictions on who uses them. I think the only limit is you can't park there for 72 hours.
Okay.
Consecutively.
All right, thank you.
I just want to confirm, the only thing we have from the appellant is this letter that was part of the packet, and there's no other evidence or anything that has come in to support what they're alleging. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to add a couple of comments. I think it's a great reinvestment in the downtown area. And I think it's unfortunate that there was an appeal placed on this project that created substantial work for staff to bring this forward to us for a hearing, and the appellant does not choose to come with any evidence to back that up. I think there's reasons behind that. I don't think it's really an environmental issue as to why it was appealed. I think there were other monetary ideas that the appellant may have had. I won't go into detail for that, but I do appreciate staff's such thorough review and going through every single detail to make sure that this project can move forward, because I do think it is a very good project for the downtown.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other last comments or questions?
I'd actually like to echo, Chair or Commissioner Jensen. It's frustrating that we have such, in my opinion, the perfect project for downtown, exactly what we want to see in this community, and then to have something like that. But Shelby and staff did an excellent job.
Excellent job.
Dotting the I's and crossing the T's and getting us to this point. So again, I think I'm excited about this project. I think it's exactly what we need in this community. So, and thank you for your work.
Thank you, Commissioners.
I'm excited for this project. The rooftop bar sounds amazing.
Thank you. Okay, I don't know if I closed the public hearing, did I?
No, and you can do
Okay.
that now.
I will now close the public hearing. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, unless you...
Go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. That the Planning Commission deny the appeal of the July 14th, 2023 approval by the planning manager, and adopt the two findings of fact and approve the minor design review permit subject to 76 conditions of approval.
Second that.
Commissioner Brashears has made the motion, and Vice Chair Pryor has seconded the motion. Roll call, please, Lupe.
Commissioner Jensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Randolph?
Yes.
Vice Chair Pryor?
Yes.
Commissioner Hagan-Joes?
Yes.
Commissioner Brashears?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
And Chair Covington?
Yes, the motion is approved. There is a 10-day appeal period for this item. Item 6.4 is a request that the Planning Commission consider and recommend that City Council adopt the ordinance amendment to amend Chapters 2, 3, 4, and 7 of the Downtown Code, review and comment on the ordinance amendment to Title 17 of the Roseville Municipal Code, and recommend that City Council approve the ordinance amendment to Title 19 of the Roseville Municipal Code. For the record, file number PL 23-0186. Lauren, may we have your presentation, please?
Yes, absolutely. My name is Lauren Hawker, Senior Planner. Good evening, Chair and members of the Commission. I'm here to give you, present to you the Downtown Code and Ordinance Update Project. Most of these updates are in response to state legislation. You've heard that before, or our maintenance updates. Essentially, there are a lot of changes in here that you've seen before on the zoning ordinance, and now we're simply wrapping those into the Downtown Code as well. So the changes are pretty straightforward, so let's go ahead and get into those. So I'll be going over a summary of the changes, but the staff report does go over all of the changes in greater detail. And of course, Exhibits A, B, and C of your staff report are the redlined versions of all of the changes. So in the Downtown Code Chapter 2, that's the land use chapter, includes the permitted use table. So we are proposing to change the table to indicate that community and long-term care is allowed where residential is allowed, consistent with state law. That low barrier navigation centers are allowed where multifamily is allowed, again, consistent with state law. To add electric vehicle charging stations as a use, and to move away from the term gas station instead use fuel station to recognize alternative fuels. And then to add a note that transitional and supportive housing are residential uses, again, consistent with state law. So in Downtown Code Chapters 3 and 4, in Chapter 3, that is the incentives chapter, and we are proposing to add a note that parking standards may be reduced by one or more sections of the government code. That includes like density bonuses and proximity to transit. And we're proposing to use a note rather than redline the entire chapter because it's simpler, and then that way if there are future legislative updates related to parking as well, that one note covers those future changes. And then in Chapter 4, which is the District Standards chapter, we're proposing to amend the Vernon Street District Standards for ground floor spaces. Currently, those standards require that 80% of the frontage, first floor frontage be retail and 20% be office. Now, that has imposed certain barriers to development and redevelopment because, as you all know, the retail and especially the office market has shifted over time. The original intent of those sections was to create an activated pedestrian-focused first floor space. So we worked with economic development to propose revisions to that section to instead require 80% of it be any one of the permitted non-residential uses. That retains the desire to have active uses on that first floor, but provides more flexibility for tenants and developers. And then finally, Chapter 7, Section 7.11. That's the murals section. This section was originally designed to focus mural development around imagery related to historic Roseville and includes language that's been a little bit difficult to implement and has hampered beneficial mural projects. So we worked with Blue Line Arts because Blue Line Arts administers a mural program for downtown. So we worked with them on revisions to that section. And those are the revisions before you. So we are proposing to delete the location section because it required that murals be visible from the sidewalk, even though murals in alleyways, for instance, can be really beneficial. We're proposing to delete the design requirements section because it required historical significance of the murals. Even though murals that aren't of historical significance per se still meet the intent of the murals ordinance, which is to create a visually engaging downtown environment. And of course, historically significant is somewhat of a subjective term. We're also proposing to augment the advertising section to add language from the sign ordinance into the downtown code so that you don't have to cross-reference both in order to understand the existing prohibition on commercial advertising. And then finally, we're proposing to delete the relation to adjacent property section because that section is covered by the design review process itself. And that brings us to the two small changes to the sign ordinance and zoning ordinance. For the sign ordinance, we're proposing to allow 3 wall signs instead of 2 for corner tenants, like the building shown on the slide here, so that there can be a sign on each wall face instead of having to decide which 2 of the 3 faces get the signs. And then the second is to establish in the zoning ordinance that text amendments to the zoning ordinance are initiated by City Council, Planning Commission, or the planning manager. So in other words, by the city. So in terms of outreach, as I alluded to, we work coordinated with economic development on changes to the downtown code as well as Blue Line Arts. And we posted a notice on the Arcona website and of course in the newspaper. So to conclude, the Planning Division is recommending that the Planning Commission recommend City Council adopt the 2 findings of fact and approve the downtown code amendments. As we've discussed before Planning Commission before, the sign ordinance, the Planning Commission is not listed as an advisory body. So instead of a recommendation to adopt, we're recommending you review and comment on the sign ordinance. And then if you have any comments, we'll take those comments to City Council. And then finally, we recommend that you recommend City Council adopt the 2 findings of fact and approve the zoning ordinance amendment. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you, Lauren. Commissioners, any questions for staff at this time?
Thanks for your presentation, Lauren. I have a quick question on
Sure.
Chapter 4 and the requirement for 80% non-residential, whereas previously it was 80% to be retail and 20% to be office. What sort of different uses could become available by having it just 80% non-residential?
There's a long list of permitted uses in the Vernon Street district, but they're the pretty standard commercial uses that you see all along our Vernon Street.
Well, one example is if you take the black and white reading of that 80% retail and 20% office, a restaurant wouldn't be an allowed use on the street frontage on Vernon Street, along the face of Vernon Street. So this regulation is for just Vernon Street. The Vernon Street district also has some side streets, and it's more than just the frontage. So, there's a variety: personal service, clothing, well, I guess clothing, but personal service uses, the barber shops. There's a few barber shops. I know there's a chiropractor. The vast majority of Vernon Street doesn't meet, the vast majority of blocks in the Vernon Street district on Vernon Street don't meet that requirement now because of the uses that have been there previous to the adoption of the specific plan. And so I think as we've seen folks try and re-tenant some of these buildings, they've struggled. They've had personal service uses, some office space uses that exceeded the 20%. We've really struggled. If you look at the Losi Apartments, they've really struggled with trying to find a tenant for their commercial space. In fact, it's almost been impossible. And I can tell you one of the impetuses for us changing the ordinance is the city council about 2 months ago, Economic Development took a resolution to the city council and asked them to suspend the current regulations for 6 months or until we could bring back changes to the code to give more flexibility to uses. So our Economic Development Department works with the Downtown Roseville Partnership Group, the Vernon Street Merchants, all the time to try and keep new businesses, fill in vacancies. And so this has just caused numerous different users to look at Vernon Street and then leave.
I think it's a very welcome change. Yeah. I'm very happy to see it. It'll give a lot of choices for new businesses to move into the area and revitalize downtown. So I'm happy to see it.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other comments from the commission? Okay. I will now open the public hearing and public comment period. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward and address the commission on this item? Hearing none, I will now close the public comment period. Any final comments or questions from the commission? Okay. I will now close the public hearing. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll move that we take the following action, that we consider the two findings of fact and recommend that City Council adopt the ordinance amendment to amend Chapters 2, 3, 4, and 7 of the Downtown Code, and that we review and comment on the ordinance amendment to Title 17 of the Roseville Municipal Code. We consider the two findings of fact and recommend City Council approve the ordinance amendment to Title 19 of the Roseville Municipal Code. For the record, it's file number PL 23-0186.
I'll second that.
Okay. Commissioner Hagen-Joes has made the motion and Vice Chair Pryor has seconded the motion. Roll call, please.
Vice Chair Pryor?
Yes.
Commissioner Hagen-Joes?
Yes.
Commissioner Brashears?
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Randolph?
Yes.
And Chair Covington?
Yes. The motion is approved. Next on the agenda is the commissioner and staff report. Are there any reports from staff?
Yeah, I just have a few quick items tonight. Just to let you know, last Wednesday, the City Council approved two projects that have recently been before the Planning Commission. The Erickson Senior Living Project had a development agreement amendment. Council approved that development agreement amendment. And the B-Shine Car Wash at 1100 Orlando had a rezone associated with that, and the City Council did approve that rezone. So those projects are getting ready to move forward. We will have an item, at least one item. We were trying to stack things up in September, but we have an item that has some time sensitivity. And I think we may have had one fall off on the 14th, but we will have a meeting on the 14th. And finally, I'd just like to say thank you for finding that I did not abuse my discretion. I appreciate that. But I want to quickly point out that that project, the 200 Vernon project, has 12, I can't remember now, 12 or 14 market rate units. Kitty corner to that site at 129 Vernon, it's under construction now. There's going to be another 14 market rate units. Those are the first brand new market rate units coming into Vernon Street. So it's been 14 years since the downtown specific plan was adopted, and we're starting to get market rate residential along with some of the affordable residential that's already been built and under construction across the tracks on Pacific Street. So it's really an exciting time for downtown. So some of the things that you've taken action on tonight the downtown code amendments, overturning the appeal, and getting that mixed-use project, because that project is exactly like the project that the downtown code was adopted to have in Roseville. So it's really exciting time to see our downtown starting to flourish. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's going to be good for everybody, and having those market rate people living here, more services, more restaurants, more hopefully our retailers are going to thrive. So I just wanted to make that comment. And the fact that I thank you for
Not overextending.
not knocking me down.
Thank you, Greg. Any questions or comments from the commission? Okay. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, Commissioner Martin has made the motion and Commissioner Brashears has seconded the motion. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.